أنا ضاعدا ودن قونيا دوت كوجلي نبي وادر دارني الدنيا دان هي هدا يديدان درقي كعبينه الدد محاتيرو الدول ولا لا دو وداقا أنستيدي عينو دوني دمان بولكي ودمان قونيا
Last week, Somali Community and Cultural Association sponsored a community meeting. Teams that bridge the gap between the law enforcement and the Somali American community. The dignitary that was in hand was Carmen Ortiz. She was nominated by the President Barack Obama as the United States Attorney for the District of Massachusetts and confirmed by the U.S. Senate in 2009. She is the first Hispanic and first woman to represent Massachusetts as a U.S. Attorney. Also, Vincent B. Lizzie, a special agent in charge of the FBI Boston Division. Mr. Lizzie most recently served as a Deputy Assistant Director in the Counterintelligence Division at the FBI headquarters in Washington, D.C. This event was moderated by the head of the Somali Community and Cultural Association, Deqa Jibril.
On Thursday, our city got heartbroken. We lost a man that means so much to so many of us. The greatest mayor in the country. A man that we are proud to have him as a mayor the last 20 years. His memories would be gifted and his memories would be a blessing to us. Mayor Menino has done so much to so many of us, regardless our zip codes, whether quote unquote we live in a safe neighborhood, whether we live in unsafe neighborhood, whether we black, white, yellow, rich, poor, middle class, you name it. Whether we just refugees from Somalia or we've been here generations, he has done a lot. When I worked for Elizabeth Warren's campaign 2012 as a field organizer to mobilize the African and the Muslim community in Massachusetts, he reached out to me and asked if I can serve the Roxbury Oversight Committee. I had no clue about real estates or developments in Roxbury. I had no clue what the BRA do, and I was given a booklet. And the reason he did that is because he has seen the faces of Roxbury. He has seen so many Somalis, and he wanted a Somali or a Muslim woman to be at the table. He was all about inclusion. He didn't believe the all good boys network. If you look at the mosque across from us, that mosque would not be built if it wasn't Menino's administration and great leaders like Muhammad Ali Salam and countless others that I cannot mention. When the Muslim community didn't have friends, Mayor Menino stood up and he became our dear friends. As you all know, some politicians give you lip service, but he wasn't a politician. He didn't worry whether or not he's gonna get reelected. He cared each one of us. And the excellent work that he left, he made this city the most wonderful, wonderful city in the world, not just in the United States. Let's carry his legacy. When Islamophobia told Menino, we don't want a mosque in the heart of Roxbury, he stood up firm and he didn't change. And their nasty, nasty tactics didn't scare Menino. We are grateful to have a mayor like Menino, and I ask you to give us a moment of silence for the man that gave so much to so many of us. The man that made Boston a better place for all of us. Let's give him a moment of silence, please. Thank you, Mayor Menino, on behalf of the Somali community, on behalf of the entire Muslim community in the Commonwealth. We thank you for your love. We thank you for your fair treatment. And we thank you the service that you gave the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. May you rest in peace. Thank you for the clap. I needed to take a break. Now it's honored and a blessing to welcome U.S. Attorney Carmen Ortiz. Carmen was nominated by President Obama 2009. Carmen is the only Hispanic female and the only Massachusetts woman that get elected. Carmen, welcome to the Somali community. We also have Vince Lisi. Sorry, I hate when people mispronounce mine, so. Mr. Lisi is the head of FBI. He joined the FBI in 1989, has done a lot of work in the country and overseas. We are glad to have him on the table. He is community-oriented mind. He reached out to us, so he wants to work the Somali community and have a better understanding. We always have a fear of law enforcement. We also have Mr. Ramsey on the table, FBI agent. We have Superintendent Bob Murner. You all familiar? He came to our last gathering. Welcome back. My community reached out to Boston Police the last 6 months, I would say. And since then, we had done a lot together. We did youth dialogues. They gave us internships. They also connected us with the mayor's office. Mayor Marty Walsh is very, very supportive of our community and the work I do with Somali youth. If it wasn't Boston Police, we wouldn't be able to have access to City Hall. So I'm glad Bob Murner for reaching out and connecting me. We want to make a few testimony on the internships. Boston Police gave us internships within the Boston Police Department and the Sheriff's Department. We had 7 Somali youth that took advantage of the opportunity. And if you guys can stand up so that the people will see, stand up. If you guys could come out and say a few words, I would appreciate it. What did you learn? What did the
Okay. Hi, my name is Faisa Hersey. I'm currently attending O'Brien. I'm a 12th grader, and hopefully next year I will be attending BU. My experience was that at first I was so scared when I seen like all the police around me. I was like, oh my God, this is so scary. But then I felt like right at home, they treated me as the same as everybody else. And I think that this wouldn't have happened without Deco Jabril's help. She personally reached out to me. I was like staying at home, watching TV, doing nothing. And then she was like, oh my God, you can do this program. And I was like, that's perfect. When I started the program, first of all, I'm really bad at public speaking, but they made me do public speaking a lot. I helped out with the community. We cleaned up our neighborhood parks and everything. And I just had a great experience. And without this, I don't think I would have been a better student like I am right now.
Thank you.
Okay, my name is Abdurrahman. I had the opportunity to actually had a meeting with the chief of staff and the Human Resources Department, and we talked about the future for youth, Somali youth. And I was lucky enough to actually get my internship at City Hall, and that's what I'm doing right now. I work at the new Bostonian office. I do like social media, kind of Facebook marketing, get the word out for what they're doing at City Hall. So I've been also posting a lot of jobs on my Facebook page that City Hall also makes aware of. So I'm real thankful for what Deca is doing, connecting opportunities to young Somalis, and I want a lot of people to kind of, take advantage of that, and thank God that I did. I have a job right now as an ambassador for Somali youth where you help out with taxes and some sort of like that. So thank you, Deca, for your work.
Thank you, God. God makes things possible. When He says be, it becomes. When He says yes, none of us can say no. So I want to thank first, but I also want to thank, in our religion, in the Quran, it says that if you cannot thank one another, you can't thank God. So I'm grateful for Boston Police, the work that they did with our youth. The work is not over. We have a lot of work to do together, but so far we accomplished a lot of things together, and I'm happy. Layla did the Sheriff Department, and they invited a lot of law enforcement, and she says, Oh, how come the FBI is not here? I'm interested in FBI. Guess what? They're here now.
Thank you.
And people were looking at her like she got 3 heads. You what? What are you interested? But I'm glad you are interested, and there's no way why Somali, a girl, would not dream to be a FBI someday. So thank you. Keep up your dream.
Hi, my name is Nasra Abdurrahman, or Layla, whichever you know me as. I worked with the Sheriff Department, mostly visited different departments, learned about different things, and I appreciate that Daqa connected me with those. I met different people, and I'm a little shy, so. And I got different, I worked with the cells and the jail people. I was scared at first, and I got the experience that it's not so bad. They treat them like regular people, like outside. And I communicated with them mostly, well, some of them didn't follow the rules and talk to the cell people, but I actually keep that, and even the cell people said, Assalamu alaikum, and I was surprised that they actually know how to say hi to me. And there were Muslim people, so there's different people that I was surprised to meet. And I worked with files and everything. I got a good chance to experience things that I wouldn't see outside my home. Thank you.
Now I'm gonna, U.S. Attorney Carmen Ortiz is in a rush, and you know how Somalis don't start anything on time, and she didn't know. So if U.S. Attorney Office want to learn about Somali culture, we can train. If FBI want to learn, if Boston Police, so on and so forth. But Carmen, I want to welcome you to the mic. Tell us, how can we strengthen the relationship with our law enforcement? How can Somali American get resources? We wanted to know that, how can we tap some of the things that we don't have accessibility? As you know, you are the first Hispanic and the first woman. We want to be the first for so many. So if you come out, tell us what your office do briefly, and
Thank you. Thank you. Hopefully, can everyone hear me? Yes. All right, so I don't have to be, it's a real pleasure, and I'm very excited to be here to share a few words with you. And so I want to thank Dico for inviting me. And I apologize, but when I received the invitation, I had a prior commitment for this evening, and so I won't be able to stay too long. I have to head out at around 5 o'clock or so, but I'm thrilled. I really, this kind of engagement, the opportunity to talk to the community, and also have the community hear from me, and hear a little bit about what our office does, and why we believe, and certainly I believe, that these kinds of gatherings are important for all of us, between the community and law enforcement, and in particular the U.S. Attorney's Office. So that's why it was really important for me to be here and take advantage of this opportunity. And before I go any longer, I will say, the young lady that wants to be an FBI agent, where is she? Hey, I'm here to tell you, maybe you could be the first U.S. attorney, Somali U.S. attorney, so. As you heard, I have been the U.S. Attorney for 5 years, and our office, the U.S. Attorney's Office, oversees the investigation and prosecution of federal crimes. We also defend the government on federal matters, and we also sue on behalf of the government when there are violations against individuals of civil liberties and civil federal statutes. Our office handles a lot of big, high-profile cases in the public corruption, financial fraud arena, organized crime. Our office handled the Whitey Bulger case last year, and this year we have been overseeing the investigation and the prosecution related to the Boston Marathon bombings that occurred last year. So there's a lot of important work that our office does, and we do it along with the FBI, as well as many other federal agents and the Boston Police Department and civil rights services as well. We work with a lot of our law enforcement partners on the federal, state, and local level. And we couldn't do it alone. I mean, we have to work together. We rely on one another. We collaborate together. And in addition to investigating and prosecuting crimes, our goal as well is to work with communities to intervene and to prevent crimes from happening and to really reach out. And I do that in my office. Our office consists of many assistant United States attorneys, but we also have a number of outreach coordinators. And I'm thrilled to, because I want to point her, she's a big assistant to me, my colleague here, Brandy Dadini Melanson, who she is our law enforcement and outreach coordinator, and we work together on a lot of different programs together. In our office, we focus on anti-violence, especially with youth. We have a program called Your Future, Your Decision, where I go to different schools and I talk to young kids about making the right decisions, making the right choices so that they can achieve their goals, their dreams of being an FBI agent or, being the sheriff of the county. So we try to engage with community, and we want to make ourselves accessible to community, because we believe that in order for us to do our jobs, we have to understand what the concerns are of the community and what's important to the community. We don't know it all, and we don't know how to solve every situation. So that's why I always say, especially when it comes to our key mission, and when people ask me, what do you see your role as U.S. Attorney? In its simplest of forms, I see my role as working really, really hard with my law enforcement partners to keep the community safe, to keep all of you safe. But that's not just my job. Ensuring and promoting public safety is all of our responsibility, because we can't do it alone. And we're all interested in living in safe and happy neighborhoods. We all want the best for our children. We want them to be able to achieve their dreams. And we teach them that by working hard, by going to school, by listening to their parents, they can lead a good path in life. But sometimes that's not so easy. We know that. There are a lot of temptations out there. There's a lot of bad influences. And so we need to work together to really help our youth stay away from the bad influences, and so that we can be really united in keeping our community safe. And so that's why these programs, these opportunities are important. And right now, our office is involved. It's been selected. I think Dico said that I was elected, but I actually was appointed by the President of the United States, Barack Obama, nominated me to the Senate, and then I was confirmed. I don't run for office. I'm not a politician, and even though my position is politically appointed, the President appoints me, it's not a political job. It's really one of, as I said before, ensuring and working hard to keep our communities safe. And one program that is recently new, and you may have read about it in the paper, is that we have been selected here because we have such good relationships with law enforcement, with different communities, to work really hard on coming up with some strategic planning to prevent violent extremism. And that's what I am moving forward to work hard on. And we're working with different members of different communities. We're working with different people from different disciplines, like in mental health and schools and public health and law enforcement and social service communities. So we don't know, we don't have all the answers, but I will say this, our heart is in the right place. We're very, very committed to doing everything we can to protect you and really to encourage you to work with us in keeping you safe. Thank you.
Now I'm going to invite Bobby. I can only call him Bobby, so make sure you call him Superintendent Bob Murner. I'm the only Somali Arab, so I get to call him Bobby.
So I'm just here. I'm gonna introduce our friends here from the FBI. Most of you know me. We've been, and I just want to reiterate what was said earlier about Dico. Dico came into my office last April and said, you know, we have some issues going on with Somali youth in the community, and I want to make sure that we can, one, handle the issues of people that are breaking the law and deal with the families of some of these kids who have gotten into trouble already, and also to build some relationships. And as everybody here knows, Deco doesn't take no for an answer. She doesn't even take maybe for an answer. So, but she also talked about working with other agencies, and we plugged in some folks into internships with the Boston Police, with the Sheriff's Department, and I can tell you that that's what makes everything work, is when you have actual relationships, when you can pick up the phone and call somebody and you get someone on the other end of the line that you've met before, that you've built a relationship with, and that you can talk to. So, without going on anymore, just like in all communities, in law enforcement community, we have to build bridges. Boston Police Department works very closely with all of our federal partners. I have two friends here at the table. Karen Ramsey, I met a couple of years ago at class over at Boston University, and we've worked together. And Vincent Lizzie, who is the SAC, the Special Agent in Charge here in Boston of the FBI, he came here last July. I met him shortly after he came. We've been working very closely. We've built friendship and relationships, and we'd like him and the FBI to work closely both with not only the Somali community, but all the communities in Boston. So without further ado, Vincent Lizzie.
He speaks Arabic as well, so.
Shway
Shway is better than mine.
Hey everyone, so I'm just so pleased to be here. I've been trying to get something together for quite a while, and finally Deco was able to pull us together, and just happy as can be. What I wanted to do is, I think in any relationship, the first thing is understanding each other, right? FBI or what the FBI does, or anything about the FBI, right? And human nature is that there's a fear of the unknown, right? It's what you don't know is what you're afraid of. So I want to sit here and explain to you what the FBI is and what we aren't. And then we can sit here and answer questions for you all night long. And there's no question I won't answer, I can tell you that. And I brought with me Karen Ramsey as well. He's one of the assistant special agents in charge. And I'll explain to you how the FBI is formed and our organizational structure and all that good stuff. First, let me tell you a little bit about myself. So when I was a senior in high school, I got admitted to college, and I was sitting in my family room one day with a family friend, and he said, "What are you going to go to college for?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I want to be an FBI agent." He said, "Major in accounting, and that's the easiest way to get in." I'm like, all right. I never took an accounting class in my life, didn't know what accounting was. I went to college, I majored in accounting, got a degree, and worked in accounting for 3 years and got into the FBI. So I got into the FBI in 1989, and that's where I've been since. I spent when I graduated from the FBI Academy, back then the FBI Academy was about 16 weeks long. And you live in Quantico, Virginia. It's, there's different things that you're taught while you're there. Some of it's physical fitness, right? You're out running, push-ups, sit-ups, all that good stuff. You know, they teach you how to shoot, right? So they give you guns and teach you how to shoot guns safely. And there's a lot of classroom work, teaching you about laws and how you actually do the job. And then there's practical things they teach you, how to conduct surveillance, how to conduct interviews, how to make arrests safely. So you go through that, you go through 16 weeks, you graduate, and upon graduation I was sent to the field office in Washington, D.C. I got there in February of '90, and for the better part of the next 14 years in Washington I worked on gangs and drugs. And I don't know how many people were here or remember back in Washington, D.C. in the early 90s, but it was the murder capital of the United States, right? In 1993, Washington, D.C. had 496 murders. Washington, D.C. is the same size as Boston. I can tell you if they had 496 murders in Boston this year, Superintendent Murner would be Corporal Murner, right? He wouldn't have a job because it's chaos. 500 murders a year in an area this big is unbelievable. and things were out of control back then. But we formed a task force, we worked closely with the police, and we tackled the gang problem back then. And now DC last year, I think they had less than 80 murders. I mean, it's really turned around. It's a much better place now. So after working gangs and drugs for 14 years, I went to our headquarters. And our headquarters is an administrative assignment. Right? I tell people, FBI headquarters is where fun goes to die. Right? Nobody in our headquarters has fun. You're tied behind a desk all day long. You never get out in the field. And I worked in our Office of Congressional Affairs. So basically I was up on Capitol Hill doing liaison with Capitol Hill. And that's one of the, I learned early on in my career, I was 15 years into it, but that's where I realized the importance of making sure people understand you and have an appreciation for what the FBI does. Because I learned that members of Congress only know what their staff tells them, and their staff generally only knows what they read in the paper. So if the FBI is not out there explaining to them what we do and how we do it, then they really aren't as educated as they should be. So that's a lot of what I did for the next couple of years. After that, I went back to the field office in DC. I had a really sweet job. It was an undercover assignment at a covert offsite. I had a S550 Mercedes. I had a corner office with leather furniture. It was beautiful, right? I was doing that for 9 months and life was good. And I don't know what happened, but somehow I got transferred over to work on the anthrax investigation. And I don't even remember, it was like after 9/11, all the letters with the anthrax were sent. And so at that point, it was 2006, the investigation had been going on for 5 years, and they wanted to kind of shake things up. And so, myself and another good friend of mine, we got plopped into the anthrax investigation and were told to solve it. And it wasn't that easy. There were some challenges. But I tell you, the team that we had really came together and did a phenomenal job. And after a couple years there, right, they figured out who did it. We're getting ready to arrest the guy and charge him with the crimes of mailing the letters. And he committed suicide. And we were all, that wasn't the desired outcome, right? Because after that, some people were saying, oh, you were going to blame the dead guy, you didn't have the right person. We had the guy and we were ready. And, we were kind of disheartened. Nobody wanted him to kill himself. I mean, we knew that he was having some mental health issues, and we were concerned about it, and even told his lawyer, hey, you should look out for your client. We're worried about him harming himself. Unfortunately, it didn't work. So I found myself then, the anthrax investigation's winding down, and I said, okay, what's my next assignment going to be in the FBI? And I'm on the computer one day, and I'm looking through the computer trying to figure out what I'm going to do next, right? Because the FBI posts opportunities on the computer, and you can look through there and say, here's a job that I want to apply for within the FBI, or a different assignment. And so I'm looking through, and I saw it's a legal attaché. So the FBI actually has people stationed around the world, right? In probably 60 different embassies around the world, we have offices, and we cover many more countries from those offices. But the title is legal attaché. So I saw legal attaché for SY, and I thought SY stood for Sydney, Australia. And I thought, wow, it's great, Sydney, Australia, I'd love to go to Sydney. And I opened up the posting, and SY stood for Sana'a, Yemen. And I started thinking about it, I'm like, hey, Yemen sounds pretty good to me right now, And I told the people, I said, hey, so back then, people were happy with the job that we did on the anthrax case, and they're saying, hey, Vince, whatever you want, we'll promote you and give you. And I said, I want to go to Yemen. And they said, no, really, what do you want? I said, no, really, I want to go to Yemen. And they're like, come on, I'm telling you right now, I don't want to stay home and watch TV and CNN or read the paper. I want to go over there and get to Yemen and experience it firsthand. And next thing you know, I'm in Yemen. Right, I got there in April of 2009, and I stayed there until July of 2010. And from Yemen, I also covered Djibouti and Ethiopia. So I've been to Djibouti and Ethiopia dozens of times. We're talking to Deco and some of the other people here. I used to love going to Djibouti, especially getting away from Yemen. The people in Djibouti are great. The people in Yemen are great too. but you can relax a little more in Djibouti. It's hot. My God, is it hot. But I used to have a wonderful time in Djibouti and Ethiopia. So upon, Yemen was supposed to be a one-year assignment. It's a hardship, right? It's not easy living in Sana'a. I stayed there for an extra 3 months, came back to the field office in DC again. And I got promoted to assistant special agent in charge. And I'll explain to you in a minute what all these titles mean. But I did that for a year, and it was in our intelligence program. And one of the responsibilities I had then was the FBI has a whole lot of linguists or translators. Right? Our field office in DC has about 130 of them, and it ranges between 130 and 150. But we hire people to come in, and we have so many different needs for translation. Right? So we bring all the people in, and I had all the 130 or 40 of the translators under me then, and it was pretty good. They would just like the food we had tonight, they would have like whatever. They'd have a reason for a party, right? And every ethnic group would bring in foods from their country. And man, that was pretty good. It was hard not to gain a lot of weight while you're there working. So I did that for a year. Then I went to our headquarters again, where fun goes to die. And I worked in our counterintelligence program. And you hear counterintelligence, and the easiest way to explain the FBI's counterintelligence is there's foreign countries who are our adversaries, Russia, China, places like that, who want to steal our secrets, right? And they used to send spies over here on the ground to try to steal our secrets. A lot of them, now they can just do it through a computer. And so what the FBI does is have to stop them from stealing our secrets, right? How do we stop spies from coming over here to the United States and stealing our stuff? It's that easy. And so I stayed there, and I was in headquarters for about 20 months. And luckily for me, then after 20 months, I got sent to Boston to be the head of the FBI in Boston. So let me explain to you a little bit about the FBI, right? There's 56 field offices in the FBI. Okay, Boston is one of 56. Boston is probably, it's between the 8th and 9th, depending upon how you measure, between the 8th and 9th largest office in the FBI. But within Boston, we have what are considered satellite offices. Okay, so it's not just Boston. Boston also covers Maine, New Hampshire, all of Massachusetts, and Rhode Island. So to cover Maine, we have 3 satellite offices in Maine: Bangor, Augusta, and Portland. We also have satellite offices in New Hampshire, and then we have them throughout Massachusetts, as far west as Springfield. And then we have one in Providence, Rhode Island as well. And so, like I said, we've got 56 major field offices. Boston's one of those 56, but we've got 10 satellite offices just in the Boston office. And if you look at some of the other offices, field offices, obviously like the biggest one in the country is New York. Washington, D.C. is our second largest field office. Then we've got L.A. is our third, and Chicago, and so on. And then we've got them in we've got some smaller ones too. Jackson, Mississippi has an FBI office. And so let's talk about the Boston office, right? As I said, the Boston office is 8th or 9th. We've got a little over 300 agents and a little over 300 support people in the office as well, professional support to get the job done. So if you look at our organizational chart, right, I'm the head of the office. I'm the special agent in charge. Under me, I have 5 assistant special agents in charge, and that's Kieran is one of those, okay? And Kieran, by the way, let me back up. I met Kieran. Kieran was the legal attaché in Cairo, in Egypt. And he also covered Sudan and Libya from Cairo. And he was over there for 3 years. So, it's funny. Here's 2 guys that have lived in Muslim countries, and spent a lot of time over there and have a true appreciation for it. And really enjoyed it. We both left there with very pleased with the experiences that we had. So, there's me, special agent in charge, 5 assistants, right, under me. Now, if you look at the staffing for our office, the FBI doesn't tell me, here you get 310 agents. They say to me, we give you 60 agents to work counterterrorism, okay? We give you 140 agents to work criminal matters, right? And we talk about criminal matters. What crimes do we investigate? Federal violations, right? But it's everything from bank robberies to public corruption, right? State and local politicians who are corrupt. Gangs. We don't really say we work drugs, but we do work drugs in some aspect of working drugs. We still work organized crime. We work healthcare fraud, things like that. So those are all criminal violations we have. And so, like I said, they give me 140 people to do that. Then we have counterintelligence as well, and they give me so many people to work counterintelligence. We have a cyber program. We get agents to work cyber matters. And that's cyber intrusion, cyber crimes, things like that. And then we have an intelligence program as well. An intelligence program, a biggest component of that are analysts, right? So in the course of us doing our jobs, right, and interviewing people and learning things, we have analysts who sit and look through the information and say, hey, we think that you got this information that could help somebody else somewhere else, right? That's the simplest way I could put it. It's intelligence. Intelligence is information that's helpful to somebody else. So then if you look at Kieran, right? Kieran is the ASAC. He's the Assistant Special Agent in charge under me, who's responsible for all counterterrorism matters in the 4 states that we cover. Then when you look at the criminal matters, I have two Assistant Special Agents in charge, right, that oversee all the criminal matters. One does like white-collar crime and public corruption, and the other one does more of the violent crimes, bank robberies, extortion, organized crime, gangs, things like that. Then we have one assistant under me who handles all counterintelligence matters, okay? And then the last one does like administrative. So, the FBI is not unlike any other business, right? We've got a human resources component, payroll, all the other things we've got to do in the office, hiring people, recruiting, things like that. So they oversee all of that, and then the intelligence component as well. And so I think it gives you a pretty good picture. And when you look at the different offices, right, or the different divisions of the FBI across the country, they're all pretty much the same. But the smaller ones, I've got 5 assistants underneath me. A smaller one might have 2 or 3. You go to offices bigger than me, they might have 6. The Washington field office, oh my God, I can't even tell you how many they have. A lot. Probably 14. They've got about 14 or 15 in the Washington field office. It's so large. So, it's we are no different than any other office across the FBI, right? Now, let's talk about terrorism, right? So, Kieran's here, and we talk about what do we do? And I told Deco and everybody else, our job, you're all Americans, you're all citizens, our job is to protect Americans. And whether we're protecting Americans from terrorism or violent crimes or whatever it is, any kind of white-collar crimes or corrupt public officials taking advantage of you and misusing your trust. That's what we do, right? We protect people from the other team. And I always tell people, I talk to 2 teams, good and evil, right? We're all, and I say good, the team of good isn't law enforcement. It's everybody in this room and law enforcement. And I also tell people that our job is to protect the victims and look out for you all. And we've got to work together to do it. We were talking the other night, we were at a place and in an event in New Hampshire, was it 2 nights ago? 2 nights ago. And I told a little story. So every year we have like a all-employee meeting. We get everybody from the office, right? We generally have it before Christmas, and we get Faneuil Hall, and we have it in the upstairs of Faneuil Hall. It's a very nice event. And what we do is we kind of recognize a lot of the achievements throughout the year of the people in the office. A lot of people in the office do a lot of good things. It brings them all together, and we recognize what they did. We talk about, what the office has done throughout the year. And then we have guest speakers come in as well. Every year we'll have a guest speaker or 2. And last year, we had Celeste and Sidney Corcoran come in and speak to us. Now, Celeste and Sidney Corcoran are mother and daughter who were both hurt very seriously at the marathon bombing. Celeste is the mother, she lost both of her legs, right? Sidney's the daughter who was very badly hurt. And they stood before, I don't know, there were probably at least 400, maybe 500 people in the room. Not everybody can make it. And just talked about the experience and what it's done to them and how it's affected their lives. And when they got done, I told everybody, I said, those two on that stage are staunch reminders of why 33,000 men and women in the FBI show up to work every day. It's for the victims, right? That's why we go to work. It's because they rely on us. You all, you rely on us to stand between good and evil, you know? And so it's like you see that, and I don't think there was a dry eye in that whole place. I mean, when they got done talking, it was so powerful and so inspirational, you know, to see the adversity that they've overcome. Here's a woman, she's walked around on 2 prosthetic legs, you know? And I tell you, it really hit home. But like I told the people the other night, it's not just the marathon victims that we care about, it's all victims. Whatever it is, whether it's a kidnapping, an extortion. You know, we have kidnapping cases where a drug dealer kidnaps another drug dealer. Guess what? We're going to go in there and look out for the drug dealer who got kidnapped. He's still being victimized, you know? And so all the crimes, and even when it gets down to civil rights investigations, you know, because, you know, when you talk about civil rights investigations, right, everybody in this room is protected under the Constitution. You've got civil liberties, you've got rights, right, that the FBI protects. And that's a pretty big responsibility for us to protect those. And, you know, even things like you look at police shootings where there's an allegation that the police wrongfully shot somebody. The FBI goes in and conducts those investigations. You know, and as close as Bobby and I are, and we are friends, whenever those things happen, we come in and he appreciates and understands that that's our job and that's our responsibility. And I can tell you that there's not a police department out there who wants a bad cop working for them. And if they have a cop who gets off the rails, right, and goes the wrong path, then we've got to go in there and investigate it. So it's a huge responsibility for us. But I tell people, it's like with those investigations and with your civil liberties and the things that we protect for all of you and everybody in this room, right, it's we've got to make sure that we do it right. We can't fail ever. And when we conduct those types of investigations, we can't go and let public opinion sway us. We can't let politics get in the way. We can't let our own emotions or our own opinions get in the way. We've got to be unbiased, look at the facts, and conduct the investigation, right, and get to the bottom of it. And the minute we let one of those factors affect our investigation, we failed, right? We failed the American public because the public relies on us to go and conduct these investigations in a fair and unbiased manner. Now, let me explain something to you all that's very, very important that you all, if nothing else, you need to know this when you leave here tonight. As I've said, right, everybody in this room, right, has the same rights, right? We're all protected under the same Constitution. Whether it's the people sitting here or the people sitting there or me or whoever, we all have the same rights. You know, I heard I was speaking at a group at the mosque and somebody said to me, well, you know, we're concerned that we might say something bad about the government and the FBI is going to investigate us. I said, let me tell you something right now. Everybody remember sequestration when government employees didn't get paid? You should have showed up in the FBI office that day to hear about people talking bad about the government. Okay? I had 600 people in my office who weren't happy with the government, and they were all talking about how bad the government was. You can talk bad about the government. That's not a problem. Right? So when you look at what you can and can't do, or what protects your rights to talk bad about the government, we've got the Constitution. Right? The Constitution is that one thing that's so sacred that protects all of us. And if you look at a line here like this, right? Think of a line. These are your civil liberties. These are all the things you're allowed to do as Americans, right? And think of a triangle turned upside down on that, right? An upside down triangle. The bottom portion of that triangle is the Constitution, right? That protects you. And the Constitution tells us what we can or what we can't do in our investigations. In any of our investigations. Whether it's terrorism, counterintelligence, whatever it is, right? But the Department of Justice, which oversees the FBI, They say, look, we don't ever want the FBI to get close to violating people's rights under the Constitution. So the middle layer of that triangle, what's called the Attorney General Guidelines. Those are more rules put in place by the Department of Justice that we have to follow to make sure that we never get close to violating anybody's constitutional rights. Right? So that's your second layer of protection. The FBI does one step better. We have another layer, the top layer of that upside down triangle, of our own internal guidelines. Because the FBI said, we don't ever want to get close to violating the Attorney General guidelines. If we ever violate the Attorney General guidelines, we failed the Americans. So we have more rules in place on top of that prevent us from violating the Attorney General guidelines, which violate us or keep us from violating people's rights under the Constitution. I often get asked, right, well, how do we know that you're really looking out for our civil liberties, that you're not spying on us? You know, somebody asked me one time, they said, you know, we're concerned. Somebody might come and whisper in your ear and say, hey, Kieran Ramsey's bad. He's an Irish terrorist, right? He's a member of the IRA. And it might be somebody who just doesn't like Kieran, right? Who's making it up. So how do we know that Kieran's rights are being protected when he's under investigation? The best example I can ever give to anybody in this room is Tamerlan Tsarnaev, right? The bomber. We went, the Russians came, whispered something in our ear, and said, he's bad. We know the Russians have ulterior motives, right? But we look at it, we say, okay, let's try to substantiate it. And you look at that upside down triangle and all the rules that are in place and what we can and can't do and will and won't do. And our people went out there and did everything that we could that's permissible under the rules, under the FBI guidelines, right? It's too far up the chain, it's 2 steps up the chain from the Constitution. After the bombing happened, we had independent parties come in. Inspector generals are called, inspectors general. What? Oh. You want to go?
No, summarize.
Okay.
Yeah, I will let you finish.
So they go and they come in, and what's the criticism of the FBI after they reviewed what we did? That we didn't go to his mosque, that we didn't send informants into the mosque, that we didn't tap his phones, right? That we didn't do anything that the people were worried about, you know? And guess what? We had to do it all over again, we'd do it the exact same way. We can't afford to ever get close to violating any of those rules because then we fail the American people. So that's something everybody needs to keep in mind. And the proof's in the pudding, like I said. Look at Tamerlan, look what we did, look what we didn't do, and look at the criticism we got, but we're not going to change. You got to go?
Thank you. It's a prayer time. So, like he said, I want to encourage each one of you, know your rights.
Do you want me to wait here? We can wait and answer any questions. And
Okay.
Yeah.
go pray. We'll wait here.
Okay, the women are going next door. I don't know. Do you guys have any quick question? We'll be right back. Okay.
Yeah, good. We'll wait.
I'm afraid I'm
Yeah, we'll wait.
Thank you for coming today, and thank you for telling us our rights. We already, some of us knows what is our rights in this country, as we are citizens in this country. But still, we want to clarify that the most important thing we need is not us, you as FBI, you need your staff to train more in cultural barriers.
I agree.
Which is very important.
I agree.
Because we are Muslims, we are black, we are African, we are so on.
We got so many
So we need so many things, so many styles in our body. So we need that to be addressed in a positive way. We are citizens of this country, and we have the rights as white, black, blue, all colors. We need to be addressed, your staff. It's more important than you to tell us what is our rights, because when we become citizens in this country, they tell us, we have a book, we know what is our rights, what is not our rights, but we are happy to work with you and to teach our culture and
I
our
asked-
shortcomings and our
I asked in the
positive and
past,
negative. That's all what is my
and
intervention.
so I can tell you
And
this,
thank
I've
you
asked
for
in the
coming
past,
today.
and I will continue to ask, I would love for somebody from the Somali community to come to the FBI, and we would love for you to talk to our people about your culture, right? Because we talked about it before, it's like, you don't understand us, and there's things about you that we don't understand. As I said, somebody might knock on your door and say, I want to talk to your son, and not talk to the father first. It's not that they're being rude, or they just don't understand. Those are things, asking you about your tribe or your clan, or things, that's something that you need to
We are civilized people, and we want to be like what this community belongs to. So we want to stop that particular part. That's where we migrated from Somalia. What is your tribe? We came here for the freedom and for the rights of the individuals.
Yeah.
So we don't want to be addressing
And
that.
so,
In other words,
I really appreciate that, but this point is a very serious point on the Somali, with the Somali issue. Because tribe is what and we don't want to remember that. What's your tribe? What is your tribe? Maybe it's right which region you come from. That's a little bit better than what's your tribe.
right, and I get it. And so that you understand, right? If somebody asks you what tribe you're from, let's look at the United States, right? If I said, Kieran, where are you from? And he said, Minnesota. I'm like, I don't need to know anything about Minnesota, sorry. Right? Sue, where are you from? Massachusetts. Oh, I need to talk to somebody from Massachusetts. It's just like, that's the reason why. And if there's a way that we can get around doing that and still answer the questions that we have, and again, it's not to investigate you or anything, it's just getting answers to questions that people need that are helpful to them.
No, we don't mind the region.
Yeah.
I told
Okay.
you, we don't mind where you come from, Massachusetts or there, but the tribe.
Yeah, I know.
Somali, all the Somali, they are here because of tribe.
Okay, good.
Because of tribe.
You know,
And this is what's going on the Shabab and this problem is because of
That
tribe.
question she asked, a lot of people are interested. And if she can go back again, ask you guys,
So
it'd be better.
here's the deal. There's a Freedom of Information Act request that was filed, right? So basically that means there's something that the FBI has in their files that somebody wants the answers to. There's a very formalized process for going through that. For some reason, the FBI said, and there's certain things that they do give and certain things they don't give. And there's reasons that they don't give certain information. Apparently, the FBI or the U.S. government or somebody has said, look, that's not information that we can provide at this time. There's a lawsuit going on. I'm not here to talk about the basis of the lawsuit or what we're going to do about it. I mean, if it's in litigation right now, then there's absolutely no way I could talk about it. But I don't even know, what all they asked for, what the exemptions were, the reasons that they cited for not providing it.
Much of the request was just not responded to at all. The part that was rejected was information about the Dasha investigation. The part that was not responded to was the task force study for the joint terrorism.
But that Chef investigation, that report that was issued out of Florida was one of the most exhaustive reports issued. I mean, that report that issued by the district attorney down there was pretty comprehensive.
I think they were looking at more than just the shooting, but the events leading up and the bigger picture.
Yeah.
But also,
Shannon, if you can speed up.
Well, and again, like those FOIA requests are filed to our headquarters. They're the ones who handle them. I don't even see them all. Well, and again, I don't know the reasons they cited for not providing the answers to those questions. Now, if somebody came to me and said, we want to know from a counterintelligence perspective the breakdowns of your cases and what you're doing, right? I can tell you right now there's no way we should give that information up, right? Well, I'm telling you, there's sensitive and classified information out there that we can't give up. And so there's certain things that we do that are classified because we get them through sophisticated techniques. And so we can't respond to those questions because it's classified information. And we can talk about the Joint Terrorism Task Force at a different time. There's nothing secret about that. If you want to talk about the Joint Terrorism Task Force and what we do from a big picture, we could do that at a later time.
We want to move on. Any more questions? Thank you so much. We will invite the FBI back because we didn't answer some of our questions. We didn't bring the elephant in the room, which is how is the FBI helping our youth who are being brainwashed and going back to Somalia? So we will have more discussions, and feel free to talk to them one-on-one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, no, before you guys go, I won't, none of you can leave without the evaluation. Tell me what, how I can improve. Thank you.